Right, I'm so sorry for my voice today. I have a cold and it's very sort of just nasally and gross, so apologies. There's not really a lot I can do about it. I was going to skip filming, but for the sake of sitting in a room and talking to myself for half an hour, I may as well just do it. I'm probably going to do it anyway, but to my rabbits rather than a camera, so yeah. Today's video is about a DIY self-watering pot, just because they're so easy to do. If it's something that you're interested in doing, you can kind of sort out the principles, see if you like it without having to buy one. So yeah, plus I've got it in an article, so it's always good to have an article and a video because some people like both, so that's what we're doing. Right, I don't have any because I use, so it's going to be like one of these like wicking, they've got like the string in them, and then you put the water in here, the plant in here, put that in there, the water wicks up through the string and keeps this damp. These are pretty cheap, so if you want to buy them, but you can only get them in a pack of 6, and not everybody wants 6 self-watering pots. I have like well over 100 plants and I don't obviously use all mine, so yeah, so I just thought I'd show you what you need. I mean, you need a string and 2 pots, it's not really difficult, but the pots I like to use for this, as I said, I don't do it, but if I was gonna, these ones are the good ones. Are these, this isn't self-watering, this is just, I'm just using it as a cash pot. These IKEA pots, because you can get them in various different sizes. Now I obviously haven't washed it, so it is a bit grim, but just so you can see, is that mould? No, it's just general. What is it? There's like concrete or something in the bottom. Anyway, they've got this like little shelf. Why have I touched the wrong side? There we go. There's a shelf here, so you can use the bottom bit as a water reservoir and then put your plant in. The string will hang into this bit, and then self-watering. You can take the pot out and then fill it up. If you're really clever, you could, because for this method you can just use the nursery pot that the plant comes in, but if you were really clever you could get like a bit of pipe and stick it through the pot out of the nursery pot, out of the holes. I'm sorry, I have the feeling I'm a little bit delirious, and use that to pour your water in. I mean, you need a funnel or something, but that would be a way to make it a bit fancier. I mean, you can just take the pot out though. So yeah, and then all you need is some sort of wick. I like, if you buy it on Amazon, I think you can buy it as just like a cord, but you use it for like is it macrame? Macrame? That stuff, like the braided cord stuff. If you're going to use just string, use a few bits. Braid them together, just use multiple, whatever. But yeah, so this IKEA pot is I don't actually know how you measure plant pots. These are things I should know. So this is a 15 centimetre, what a lie, it's 14. 14 centimetres across. It would be 15 if I measured it from the outside, but obviously like the plant have to fit in it. So the inside gap will fit a pot that's 14 centimetres. Is this one 14 centimetres? Oh my god. Yeah. So then you need a pot that's 13 centimetres across and then 11 deep. When you measure pots, you always tend to only get given the diameter, which is fine if pots were standard sizes, but they're not. I've got a few that are like really deep, and obviously that wouldn't work in this because you don't want it to go right down to the bottom. So yeah, you can just pop your plant in a pot. You need to take your plant out to get the string in. And then yeah, just take it out, fill up the water reservoir, and you're good. If you wanted, you could put some leca or pon on the bottom. I personally don't bother if the water reservoir isn't touching the bottom of the pot. And then yeah, it's done. These kind of self-wicking pots I found really good for, they're not brilliant. They have a tendency to either underwater or overwater, and sometimes the string isn't the best. I'm actually not a massive fan of the whatever. This is just cord. It's okay. So you might have to replace it if you find it's not working. They tend to either overwater or underwater. So using that information, I would put plants in them that don't care that much either way. Pothos are... I found pothos do really well in them, like really well. Plants that haven't done well in other kind of pots really seem to like the self-watering pot with the wick. I've also heard people use them for African violets specifically. I've not heard other people talk about other plants liking the wicking system, but African violets is one that pops up repeatedly. I can't vouch for this because not only does my African violet not live in one, but my African violet is the saddest plant in the whole world. And she's thirsty for a start. But you know those plants that are just... they've just had a really sad life. She looks terrible. She is thirsty. But she lived with my friend for a long time. And she's got aphids. Aphids. My God. How the hell has she got aphids? I'm glad I picked her up. Oh my God, she's got loads. Don't even know if you can see. Probably not. Can you see the black things on the stems? Well, oh my God. You know, and you're like, at some point this poor plant has to be put out of its misery. That's her. So, yeah, she lived with my friend in a really, really... She was in too big a pot, it was in too dense soil, she was overwatered. She came to me looking really sad. And then she came to me and she didn't do anything for ages. And then she recovered and she kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And then I think I pushed her. I was like up in the light and like getting her a really good fertilising routine. I don't think too much, like maybe once every 6 weeks, I think. Because I really wanted it to bloom and I think it was just all a bit too much. And she was like, I'm sorry, no, I can't do what you want me to do. So she pretty much died back to nothing. And I thought I'd overwatered her, so that's why she's in the terracotta pot. But I think looking back, I think I just expected too much. So she, I don't know what's going to happen to her now. I could put her in quarantine, but my quarantine is currently full of thrips plants, and seems a little bit harsh then put her at risk of thrips. So she's only little. I can probably find a spot for her. I don't want to give up on her, but also I'm like, what else can I put this poor plant through? Anyway, I could repot her and try her in a self-watering pot. I might do that actually. Ooh. That's the boyfriend telling me when he's working. Working Saturday. Same. So yeah. Where were we? Anyway, yeah, these IKEA pots are pretty cheap. They've all got the shelf inside and you get them in loads of different sizes. Loads, I think like 4. So they are pretty good to pick up. And if you're the kind of person that travels a lot, it can be a good idea to put your plants in these wicking pots, because whilst it keeps the bottom of the soil moist, the wicking action isn't that strong, so you're unlikely to overwater unless you've got really small pots. But in the same vein, it doesn't work in massive plant pots because the water just won't go high enough. Also, you get the same issue you can get with bottom watering, which is the roots will quickly grow out of the bottom of the pot. It doesn't bother me, I just sort of push them back in. I'll take the pot out and kind of rejig it and get the roots back in. But it is something to watch out for. You don't want to be repotting plants unnecessarily just because the roots coming out the bottom. It may just be that the roots, rather than filling out the pot, are just going straight down to the water. So yeah, I do like these kind of pots. I wouldn't rush out to buy them because I like to be able to top water, and I like to know. I like the little water measure thing. The thing about self-watering for me is the convenience, and I wouldn't get those if I could get one with a water gauge. These are good for leca though, as are the kind of the DIY ones are good for leca, especially plants like Hoya that, so with the wicking action and the leca, that will keep the lecker drier than if it was like in the water reservoir. So if you've got a plant like a Hoya or succulents that may have a tricky transition, it can be good for those without having to resort to the shower method, which I just forget about them. I just forget. If a plant's in lecker, I'm like, oh, it's fine. And then I completely forget the shower method. I'm meant to water it. So it's good for that. So I hope this was helpful. And the idea of it was, I don't want you like rushing out buying loads of self-watering pots because they sound like they promise so much. Self-watering pot, I mean, brilliant. No, they're not going to walk over to your sink and water themselves. It's just a different way of watering. Can be more convenient for some people. If you travel a lot and you've got a lot of like medium-sized plants that aren't particularly picky, great. But for somebody like me that has a lot of different plants, it's really just trial and error and just seeing what they are. So yeah, I hope this was useful. There is a blog post to go with it. Not about DIY self-watering pots. I think just about self-watering pots in general. So check that out. It'll be in the description below. Yeah, so I will see you next week. I think I will be going through all my self-watering pots that I own and pros and cons of those, because some I really fucking hate and some I love. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.